The legal FAQs category on Property Tribes is powered by Anthony Gold Solicitors, and I'm joined by David Smith from Anthony Gold. And David, I think, one of the great things about this category is that we can address those kind of FAQ issues that landlords are always asking. They're just recurrent questions coming up time and time again. And today, we're going to sort of focus on Legionella, because there's a lot of confusion about what landlords' obligations are in this regard.
Yes, I was about to say we should almost call it Mythbusters, which is what the Health and Safety Executive calls theirs, and indeed where they gave some guidance on Legionella recently, because there's a bit of an over fear level, I think, about Legionella. So there's a lot of organisations going around stoking sort of fear of Legionella and telling people they need to spend £80. I've seen £200 on one occasion on a Legionella test. In many cases, these are not, in fact, Legionella tests at all. They're not taking samples and sending them off to a lab to check for Legionella. They're doing little more than measuring water temperatures and things like that, which most intelligent people can do for themselves. The Health and Safety Executive actually produced some guidance on this recently. It's worth looking at their website about it. And they've said that in the majority of residential property, there is no risk. Certainly any landlord who has a combi boiler and no tanks, and the combi boiler is working fine, a relatively modern plumbing installation, has no Legionella risk. They almost certainly don't need to do a Legionella risk assessment beyond doing a simple risk assessment themselves. Risk assessments by experts are only really required where your property is in higher risk categories. So it's got an elderly plumbing system, it's got boilers which might be elderly or poorly insulated, or it's got what are called in the trade dead legs, which is bits of piping that used to go somewhere but no longer do. Those are the kind of times when you need a Legionella risk assessment. To suggest that you need one for every single property every time is totally overkill. And certainly if you've got a new sort of classic sort of chocolate box straight off the shelf from a property development company, then absolutely not.
Okay. So if a landlord wanted to be belts and braces and just do one themselves, as you mentioned, they can actually do it online now, can't they?
Yeah, I understand a number of companies are offering fairly competitively priced sort of questionnaire products that allow people to walk through their installation, and that's a very good intermediate option if you don't fancy reading some of the material. If you want the cheapest possible option, then read the HSE guidance and follow its suggestions and do your own assessment. That's not to say there aren't some people who should do proper professional assessments, but the important thing to bear in mind is that there are quite a lot of installations where it's just not necessary, and it would be much better to spend your £80 or £100 on fire safety or electrical safety, which kill a lot more people.
Indeed. How would a landlord keep a record if they had done their own kind of checks?
There's no particular standard. It would probably depend on the nature of their property, but a basic description of the plumbing installation, and then listing out the presence or absence of specific risk factors. So simply saying, modern installation in the last 5 years, no tank, every boiler running properly, recently serviced, no dead end pipes, no problem. A sort of simple sort of list of the key factors would be fine, just as long as it's in writing.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that. And if you've got any more questions about Legionella, then of course you can add them to this thread, and David would be delighted to come along and answer them for you. So thank you very much, David, as ever, for your support of the Property Tribes community and sharing your vast knowledge on these areas. Thank you very much.
Thanks.